Now, in this hour, I will be chatting with Dan from the band Kingdom's Cause. I chatted with Lisa from For Kingdom's Cause a little while ago. They've got a new song coming out next week, which we're obviously not going to play just yet. However, I do have Dan, who is the drumming man to the band, keeping the rhythm and all of that jazz. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Do you know what? I'm very happy. I like drummers.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Well, you get the job done. You see, there's the people at the front. You know, they're all this and that, and then there's a drum at the back. The bulwark of the rhythm that keeps it all flowing as it needs to. That's my personal opinion, but I might get shouted at later.
I'll go with your opinion as well. I like drummers.
No, we like drummers lots. You are the drummer, aren't you, for the band?
Yes, I am. Yep. Came on board sort of last year. Lisa and I have always been in contact from sort of previous projects that we did, and many years ago we were in the local scene together, and then sort of merged onto these songs that we had from a previous band. Always felt like a chapter we'd never quite closed. So when she asked if I wanted to drum in these latest tracks that are going to make the album later on this year, couldn't say no.
Which is really, really cool. So you started last year. So you've got some history playing with Lisa in the past?
Yeah, so we were in a band, 2023, that band did come to an end. And then we kind of went our separate ways, and I was in another band with some of the members that were in that other band. Those guys wanted to kind of try and take it up a notch and become self-sufficient, which meant loads more gigging. And at the time, you know, being the age we are, jobs and things like that, I couldn't commit that time, didn't want to hold those guys back. So I kind of stepped away sort of May last year. And then, me and Lisa kept in contact. She mentioned about Renovation being recorded, and obviously eagerly awaited that to be released. And then we kind of the conversation just flowed from there through the summer. Did the drums on the tracks that we had, that the engineer we worked with sort of reproduced and made them what they are now. Did the drums in November. Just went down to the studio and laid all the drums out in November. And this is where we are now. But
thing is, if you're in a band, it's an awful lot of commitment, because not only the practice time, which is the bit that nobody ever sees, which you do at some point, that's sort of in the background. You know, we don't even think about that bit. So you've got all that time, which is a commitment. Of course, if you're going to go on tour, which eventually you want to have to do because you've got an album release, what have you, well, that's even more time. You can't just have a 5-minute pop down the road to your local pub, because that isn't really going to cut it.
No. There's always that balance to consider, and that was a kind of balance I had to consider with kind of job at the moment. You know, there is, in a nice way, a lot less pressure with this. We'll go where it goes, but I didn't want to hinder the guys in the previous band, but didn't want to kind of say this just never felt like a chapter quite closed. So when Lisa and I just kept talking, it was like, let's just do it. Let's get the drums down. Wanted to hear where the songs were, and say the producer we worked with, Joe Marsh at Orchard Recording Studios in Somerset, it's phenomenal. Just did an absolutely incredible job. And this is where we are now. So they're just being released, and then see where the year takes us with gigs and practice and things like that.
Now let's go back a bit in time for drumming, because drumming, a bit like a violin or a trumpet, they're quite specific instruments. It's not a sort of thing like most people might have a guitar in the loft. That's common, and you can have a sing into your shampoo bowl, but it's things like that. It is quite specific. Where did drums start for you?
So I never did it from a young age. I came into it quite late. I was already in secondary school, and I kind of like, would I like to? And I picked a pair of drumsticks up in a rehearsal room kit to the secondary school I was at, and literally the first week I wasn't even coordinated. Sort of just played hi-hat, snare with no feet. It was like, maybe I'm not that, maybe it's not for me. Literally a week later, you sort of try and do band, let's start a band in school. But a week later, we kind of, whatever day it was after school had finished, went to the same rehearsal room. And I'd not picked up any sticks in the week, didn't have any kit at home. And then it suddenly clicked. I was like, the bass drum, I could do the bass drum, I could do it. And hang on a minute, I hadn't even practiced in the 7 days in between. And then just sort of took it from there, really. Very sort of a weird way to fall into it. But it just sort of clicked. And then, just in bands in the early 2000s thereafter. Probably should have practiced a bit more than what I did. But it's just sort of, I stumbled into it like that, really.
Drums, percussion, very similar, not the same. I know this. I remember watching Pink Floyd Division Bell on tour. I watched a DVD of it. And when you saw the drum kit, you think, wow, that's fairly impressive. And then you see the percussion kit next to it. It was like more than most people have as a stage, was basically 2 drum kits. So do you prefer percussion or do you prefer drumming?
I mean, well, what's your definition? Because I didn't think there was a. I'd say.
You see, percussion for me, it's more filling in the gaps, whereas the drumming would be actually driving the rhythm through. So that's what we saw when I was watching that Pink Floyd thing. The drummers were just doing its thing. I mean, spectacularly. It was quite amazing. But then there was a percussion guy who was almost a semi-gymnast, kind of bouncing around doing all sorts of stuff, filling in some of the gaps.
Oh, straight drumming for me. Straight drumming. If that's the definition, we'll go with straight drumming.
I can't state it's the definition. It's definitely a definition, and it's the one that I would use. Bearing in mind, I did study music at school and failed, so that perhaps does give you an indication of my musical knowledge.
We'll go with the drumming, though.
That's fine. So I want to move on to one of the tracks that you've got, because this is apparently your favourite one at the moment, which is it's Bicycle Hymns Calls. The song is Breakdown. I want to come to that in a moment, but how do you create a drum pattern? Because I know you can read a piece of music and you can play the drums. I've watched people do that and think, can you not just make it up as you go along? I don't understand it. However, how did you start thinking, well, what does the drums look like or sound like or feel like in a song?
Yes. I mean, when this song was first written, it was 3 years back. And the guitarist who kind of wrote the songs back then, he just had the kind of drums to a point through sort of GarageBand. So I'd kind of taken those bits and then I just evolve it through. I'm not massively fancy. I'm not sort of a flow drum. I just like to be simple, effective, keep the song going. If I am writing a drum part, so to be fair, I haven't really done a sort of here's a song from scratch, let's write the drums. But years ago, it was kind of, it just went through a process of evolving. It was like, let's start with this and then take ideas from the band just morph it into then, is it going to be a tom beat? Is it going to be like a four on the floor and just straight hi-hat snare? And just kept evolving it over time and over practicing, and then just I'll try this or just try that. I was never precious about, that's my beat and do whatever's the best for the song. Whether that's how it was written by the kind of basic drum track on GarageBand and evolving it, or then sort of engineer going, let's try this. The last band, when we were in the studio recording, actually the drums changed quite a lot. The kind of song was settled, but we kind of come to recording, let's try this, and they actually morphed even at that last kind of point for recording.
You see, now this is why I'm asking these questions, because I find this stuff fascinating. And I think most people think, well, it's just the drums. They're just hitting a thing at the back of the band. It's not that important. Whereas me, I really understand the importance of not just a good drummer, but somebody who can keep in rhythm, which honestly, not everybody can, by the way. It's got to be saying it. You're not supposed to follow the band. They're supposed to follow you. So you're supposed to drive the rhythm through. And I've also played with some drummers who are, let's just say they like improvising and being bigger. Important than perhaps they ought to be, destroying the flow, or just I've got to be louder. No, it doesn't. No,
I just want to try and be simple, effective. I mean, when in the previous band, me and Lisa were in, that was the first time I'd as a drummer played live with Click. That was slightly eye-opening. So I mean, I've only really in the last 3 years actually played with kind of having backing tracks, having in-ear monitors and click track. Up to that point, it was just me trying to keep the time as best I could. That was certainly eye-opening when we started using click track and in-ear monitors and things. But sort of second nature now. Try and keep it simple, keep the song going, and that's how I want to play the drums.
Have you heard of band Skillet?
I have heard of the band Skillet, but not songs of Skillet. No.
That's fine. So the drummer, she's from Coventry, Ledger, and somebody said, she's really, really boring. She's really basic. She's not doing much. She's just at the back of the band. And actually, when you started watching the stuff that she was doing, which I started to focus on more, you think, well, yeah, it's fairly simple. But do you know what? You look at U2, you look at the guitarist. He's quite good, The Edge. He does a lot of really super complicated stuff. It's actually very simple if you listen to a U track and you start breaking it down. Because U2 don't do lots of really fancy stuff. They just do the same thing over and over again, simply and effectively. It's staying with a Skillet, which is a US hard rock metal band. And it's the same thing. Oh, well, she's rubbish. She's not doing enough. Well, you're still missing the point.
It's similar with the White Stripes. Meg White, I think, is it? And I remember I watched probably 6 months ago, there was something on Drumeo on YouTube about how actually, and again, you listen to it, think this is very simple, but they started breaking it down, and actually the kind of nuance of her playing, and you're like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, you sort of, yeah, for a simple, effective drumming for me all the way.
It does, because it allows everything else that's in the band, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, it doesn't really matter. It then allows other stuff, because you can, as a drummer, you can really easily overwhelm everything.
Yes.
Or you can enhance everything, and there is a balance to be had. And intro, whether it's a fill or whatever, a solo, but that's great. But actually, you have the ability to enhance everything by being the one instrument that everyone can rely upon to be there on the beat when you need it.
Yeah, sort of accents where you need them, fills into verses to chorus where you need them and stuff. And where, for me, my sort of style is, when I'm in a verse, it's crash accents sort of scenario. You don't, you're keeping the beat of the verse. Then you transition to chorus, you're keeping the beat of the chorus. And I just want to be clean, tidy, and sort of accent where it needs to be.
Which is what matters. Now, for Kingdom's Cause, where is the band going at the moment? Because obviously you're building up. We've got another song coming out next week, which is going to be on our rock show on Monday between 7 and 9 with Stephen D. We'll play that one called Bleed. I've heard the whole song,
Yes.
which is very good. We got a bit of a pre thing, which was great. And it's honestly, I'm so excited to hear it properly on the radio, having heard it in the office and cranked it up quite a bit. And where's the band going at the moment? Because you're growing your song base. Where's next for you guys?
We want a gig. We're speaking to kind of promoters and things like that, but not sound. We've all, at least, has done it before. I've done it before. We've done the pub gig piece. We want to try and I know Lisa's sort of speaking a lot with the Christian community, and I know they can have there's big shows that they put on and things like that. So Lisa's doing a lot of reaching out to that side. So we're just. But it will go kind of where it would go. Lisa's got a life outside of the band. So myself, we're both busy. We've got a gig coming up in Ireland just for kind of private conference at the end of April. So we're hurriedly rehearsing and for that to get all that ready. And then we definitely want to do some shows, get the album released. But on the sort of flip side, we don't want to just kind of go and play a pub down in Trowbridge. Not that that's a bad thing, but we just want to take it a bit further if we can and do some slightly bigger things through the community. I mean, Lisa's obviously been handling all the radio play and things like that, and I can't keep up with they're playing this song, they're playing this song. I had more kind of radio play through this side with what Lisa and I are doing than ever have in any previous band. So hopefully that can then translate to some bigger, better things just on that gig in front.
And I get that it is about being intentional, because in a sense, it's hard work doing pubs and going from pub to pub and setting up, because you don't just rock up and off you go. I remember I played keyboard in church for years and years, and there were a couple of girls that used to come along to the Thursday night practice with a flute, and they'd get the purse out, which was slightly oversized. They pop out a little black box, they stick 3 pieces of flute. I'm good to go.
Let's go.
I got my one of 5 loads from the car to get everything into the church so I can do a practice for 2 hours. And they're like, are we going to start soon? Do you want to give me a hand? And this is another part of what we don't see, is that when you guys stand up for 10 minutes, half an hour, there's not just a travel, there's a setup, and then the room gets warm and you've got to reach in the drums and the instruments. And these are all the bits we just don't, I do, but generally speaking, we just don't think about having to be part of a performance of 6 songs or 12 songs.
Yeah. And if you are rocking up to pub gigs and things like that, you've probably been there from 5, 6-ish. So the sound check, load in, sound check, work through the bands and things, however 3, 4 how many are on the roster for the evening. And then once you finish playing, it's there might be other bands playing that potentially using your gear and things like that whenever you're on the bill, and then the pack down on the travel home there afterwards. It isn't just I'm playing for half an hour, rock up and play. No.
I'll be honest, it was a bit when I thought, hey, maybe I should learn the flute, because I could just pop it in a bag on my rucksack and off I go.
Yeah. There's been the odd time when I've kind of enviously looked at guitarists and thought, am I playing the wrong instrument? But nah. It's always been drums since I started. When I picked up sticks in secondary school, it's always been drums thereafter. Quite happy with the lugging the kit around and things like that. And I think even rehearsal studios have come quite a long way. It used to be they didn't have anything, and now they have sort of shelves as a backline, and you can just take your hardware and things like that. So it's becoming more efficient, kind of to go and rehearse and things like that,
which is always good. Do you play other instruments, or is drums the one thing you've only ever focused on?
Only drums. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And the other part I wanted to find out was, have you learned by ear, which is how I play, or have you learned through reading notes? Because I actually saw a sheet of music score of drums, and I just thought, how on earth are you supposed to read that? I mean, I can barely read a piece of music for a keyboard, and yet you've got multiple instruments which are obviously represented by different dots on the page, but somehow they just sort of go along and play. It's like watching a machine work. It's unbelievable. Are you more sight reading or are you ear play?
Yeah. I did. I did sort of start. I mean, I only took my grades to grade 2 in drums when I had lessons with a drum teacher again, sort of mid 2000s, and could read music to a point, but never ever progressed it. So it was all ear for me. If I was ever playing drums at home and just playing along to Feeder, for example, back I would be have it cranked up in the bedroom, play along to the neighbours weren't impressed, but I was playing an acoustic kit in my bedroom at home. For like, I'll just play for half an hour, but it was always ear, just listening to it and trying to work it out and play along to it.
I used to love it when someone said, can you play this?" And they put a piece of music in front of me, and I'd say, "Not really."
No. And it would be the same. I'd be like, "Is there something I can listen to?" And I could just start piecing it together and build on it from there.
Yeah, I used to love it when people were really like, I got to grade 3, not like official grade 3. This was like a keyboard academy thing. It was the people who made the keyboards grade 3, really low. And I used to play okay, and I played by ear, and I could just play what I heard. And then you get someone who's like grade 8, proper pianist. And they, well, can you play this piece of music? No. But you must be able to. Why? Because I've just heard you play. Yeah. But you've got a piece of music in front of you. Yeah. I ignored it. I wasn't actually reading it. But it's
in the memory.
It is. Which is what I like about music, because it is something that people can get hold of. In terms of drumming for you moving forward, we're going to finish with this song that's your favorite one. Where are you hoping to this to go in your own self as a drummer? Because obviously you want to get this bigger. I mean, then potentially in the future you got albums and all the rest of it. So you said your job is a little bit less pressured. Does that make it easier for you moving forwards?
This band is less pressured. Job wise, no. Job wise is not less pressured, which always obviously puts a bit of a sort of strain on time, which is why this sort of project is just perfect at the moment for sort of myself and Lisa. But for me, it would just be practicing at home. I think I'm kind of the level I am really. I'm at the level. It'd just be it's just going to be home playing and moderate improvements that way.
But if you're doing the simple drumming, which is actually that simple, if anybody's out there wanted to work out what simple drumming is to a decent level, then try and tap a beat with your hand and an off beat with your left hand. Do that for about 10 minutes. You're sort of getting towards what we call simple drumming. Not because I'm a drummer, but I know what you have to go through. Hence lots of respect, because holding a beat and doing the same thing repeatedly, it's fine for 20 seconds. Anybody can do that. Go beyond 30 seconds. Now you've got your muscles starting to ache and lock. Do you have to warm up? Because I mean, singers and guitarists, they warm up in different ways, but what's your prep for a little gig?
Yeah, I do warm up a little bit. I just have sort of a pair of sticks in my hand, just kind of air some rudiments or double strokes or single strokes. But this is where it comes back to where I probably didn't practice enough when I was younger, and I didn't kind of really increase my speed around the kit. So I've always kind of made sure, yes, simple and effective, but sort of play within myself. So I'm not like Joey Jordison of the old Slipknot days, where he's absolutely monstering around the kit and things like that. I'm never, ever that quick. I couldn't, I'd have to be practicing for probably a year solid to get to a speed like that. But I just warm up, make sure the muscles are loose. But there's sort of not massive amounts that go into it, to be honest, a gig for warm up and things like that.
Do you know, I wonder how many people think, oh, he's talking to a drummer. That'll be a short conversation. I'm loving this because I've worked with drummers for a long time, and there's an awful lot to playing drums. And I think people have this misguided opinion of, well, they're just sitting at the back. It's not that hard a job. And it's not that hard to sit at the back, and it's not that hard to play a beat, but it is to do it and consistently and persistently and again and do the same thing, which is where the skill really does come in.
Yeah. I mean, with the song structure, with the gig that we have got coming up at this conference in Ireland in a few weeks' time, I've been coming home from work and been doing the set effectively just on the electric kit behind me, just because we can only rehearse on Saturdays as the two of us. So in the week, it's it's just driving that. Did a cymbal hit there, make sure I do that next time. I did this feel into this, make sure I do that next time, and just muscle memory, and getting it sunk into the old grey matter.
Now, the other part of this, which I don't know, are you singing as well? Or are you only drumming?
No one wants to hear me sing. Absolutely not.
I just thought I'd ask because sometimes I remember the first time I saw a drummer, I don't know which band it was, and the drummer had a microphone, and I thought, well, that's weird. I mean, obviously the band Queen, you got Roger Taylor used to sing at the back, and I thought, well, how does that work? And then you'd watch it work and think, okay, you can do that. That's quite cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's like this day and age. Like watch Biffy. I haven't watched Biffy Clyro live, but watch their sort of YouTube videos and that, and their drummer sings stuff, and some of his beats are complicated and offbeat and stuff, and then he's throwing in singing as well. I mean, he's just sort of fair play, but no, singing for me, absolutely not. No, tone deaf on that front.
I can sing and I can play. What I can't do is talk, which I watch some people talk while they're playing and thinking no, because they end up speaking in rhythm, and it just sounds like a weird looking robot.
I do. I mean, when we're rehearsing, I do sort of sing along to the lyrics Lisa is singing, but obviously no one can hear me over the backing tracks through the PA, so I'm just sort of singing along, mouthing the song along, but that's as far as it goes for me. No mic in sight.
Do you know what I like chatting to you? You know what you enjoy doing, and you want to focus on doing it really, really well. And I think that's such a key, because any decent band, it's not about the amazing stuff they do. Yes, of course it is, but it's about keep on doing the things that they do and doing them really, really well, which takes a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, and it does take practice. Which, I mean, I remember I tried to play the cello at school. I didn't do very well for two reasons. One, I just thought it was stupid to practice. Like, what's the point? Give me the instrument. I just want to play. But let's say what we need to do to get you better at playing the cello, you need to hold the bow and do your bow exercises where you're supposed to use your hand and kind of make the bow go up and down your hand with the fingers. And I'm thinking, really? What? Like, but I'm not going to do this, am I, if I'm doing a concert or something? And I'm sure it was logical. It probably explains why I didn't go on to do the cello for very long post junior school.
Yeah, it's probably similar with me. I just want to play. Once I'd sort of locked in that I could do the bass drum and the snare and the hi-hat, that sort of second week of picking up a drumstick, let's just play. And then, I didn't do rudiments or anything like that. I never spent half an hour a night being regimented with myself to take those next steps up, and I probably should have been.
So you've got a gig coming up in Ireland. You're looking for other gigs in the future.
Yes.
You've got a new song coming out next. I think it's Friday this week, isn't it? It's coming out.
Yes, I'm sure it is. Yes, it is. It is.
Let's say yes confidently then, Lisa.
Yeah, no, it is. It
is. So we're looking forward to playing that next week on the Rock Show. What else have you got? Have you got other songs you're working on at the moment? Or is this just a much gentler, simpler movement?
Yes, it's just a much gentler, simpler. We have this batch of the 8 songs, 7 recorded for the album that's going to come out later in the year. Renovation makes it 8 as the current set, and at the moment that's it. I'm not a great sort of starter of a songwriting process. It's always been, there's a guitar hook, right? Once I've got something to get my teeth into, that's kind of where I kind of start. Then we start going for. But there's kind of Lisa's always kind of noting down ideas and things like that. But as it stands at the moment, we haven't gone back to there's no sort of plans to go back to the engineer and the producer that we've worked with and sort of start writing the kind of next sequence, the next cycle. I imagine, that's probably a good later this year, maybe even a year away in totality. And there's sort of nothing in the pipeline at the moment past this sort of eight song set that we have.
Cool. Dan, thank you. I'm loving this because I like talking to musicians. Having been somebody who ran bands and stuff in churches, particularly over many, many years, I had a great deal of respect for bass guitarists and drummers. And if those two worked together, it made everything better.
Yeah.
I also worked with a few drummers who, as I say, they liked to be heard. And in the context of a church, which, you can bring it down a little bit, you don't have those particular restrictions. But it's important that you actually work together. And it sounds like you guys are, which is great. So we're loving hearing the music and it coming through. And wishing you guys every success moving forwards. Safe Ireland and all of that. And we are going to go and play now for you. not Led Zeppelin. That's the next one. Breakdown. There we go. Sorry, it's the wrong thing. For Kingdoms Calls Your Breakdown, tell me why this is your favourite song, and what do we need to listen out to?
I love the melody, the lyrics. It just absolutely scratches an itch in the way I love songs, elongated sort of vocals. As soon as this song was floating around back in 2023, when it was slightly different and then been tweaked for now, it just, everything about this song is just, it's right up there with my favourite. The melody, the drums behind it, the vocals, just ticks every box for me, to be honest.
Is there a bit of this that you want us to listen out to where you're doing your bit and it's really cool and you're really happy with what you did?
It's fairly simple on the drums throughout, really. The sort of transition into the second verse and second chorus, there's a sort of stutter, but it's then mimicked by just a simple da 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 on the snare. That's a lovely transition that was kind of put in by the producer, and we mimicked it. We echoed it on the snare drum. And the end is nice. There's a really nice crashy, fairly heavy-ish outro to bring the song to pause. Those are my favourite bits there after a lovely melodic mid-late.
Cool. Well done. Introduce us to the song now and we'll go straight into this.
Yes, so this is For Kingdom's Cause, and this is our current latest single until Friday, Breakdown.